Hello and welcome to the Nature Unplugged podcast, where we are all about inspiring wellness in the digital age. Let's get going. All right. Well, hello and welcome to the Nature Unplugged podcast. I'm so excited. We have a very special guest today, Zac Humphrey. I'm going to share a little bit more about him. But Zac, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me. I look forward to it.
Awesome. So we are very excited to be teaming up with a wonderful nonprofit called 2B-RAD, and we're going to team up for a wonderful cause this October. So it's our month-long Hike-A-Thon, and it's called Emu Challenge Hike to be Rad. And this challenge for the hike has a dual purpose. It's to help you experience nature unplugged and to help others participate in outdoor adventures. So it's a win-win, and raise funds from this year's event will benefit individuals and families who are experiencing financial or emotional hardship by providing scholarship to participate in a variety of outdoor programs. And the timing and the spirit of this event is in honor of Brad Humphrey, a committed husband, father, son, brother, and friend who passed away from a rare complication of leukemia in 2018. Brad loved his community as much as he loved the great outdoors. He believed in the healing power of human connection and being active in nature. And so do we at Nature Unplugged. Today, we are thrilled to have the opportunity to speak with Zac Humphrey, president of 2B-RAD and son of the late and great Brad Humphrey. And Zac is here to kind of share a little bit more about who Brad was and how 2B-RAD, his nonprofit or his family's nonprofit, came into fruition. So again, Zac, welcome and thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Awesome, man. Well, I would like to start just acknowledging that. So I really appreciate you being here. It's a difficult topic to talk about, and you, I think, know this, but I lost my dad when I was young. It's not the same situation, but I know a little bit of what it's like. So I appreciate you being up for talking about it.
Of course, yeah. Honestly, I've found it helps a lot talking about it, and this opportunity has really made it like a healing process for all of us. So I really appreciate it for sure.
Awesome. Well, let's start before we dive into more about your dad. I'd love to just hear a little bit more about you. And so, do you mind just sharing a little bit about your background? You're in school right now, right? Like where you go to school, that kind of stuff.
Of course, yeah, for sure. So I'm 22 years old and I go to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. I'm studying for an agriculture business degree, and I started my first day of senior year today, actually. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, catch me up here. But a little background. So I was born kind of near downtown San Diego. And I moved to Carlsbad, where we've lived since I was like 5 years old. And I remember going to like Balboa Park all the time with my mom, stuff like that. So, San Diego means a lot to me. But ever since we moved out here, I went to Catholic school from kindergarten to 8th grade. And I went to public high school. And really, my dad shaped a lot of my passions growing up. I guess so. When I was a kid, every birthday would be some kind of camping trip, and he'd bring me and my friends and stuff. So, I've had a love for camping, the outdoors, because of that. And then, later on, I found other passions like soccer, which my dad also loved. So that kind of brought us together as well. And I love movies, TV, all that stuff, hanging out with friends. But yeah, it's this whole process has just been really fun because I kind of got lost for a little bit, and nature has helped me to kind of get my mind right with all this. And, it makes me feel closer to my dad because that was his whole world, just being outside and with the people he loved. So yeah, it's a little background about me for sure. So.
Thank you. That's great. And, right in line with, what we do at Nature Unplugged. And let me ask you this, do you have a favorite outdoor activity or hobby you like hiking or surfing or?
So, funny story about surfing. That's the one thing my dad tried to get me into probably his whole life. And I think he started me a little too young because I had a few, you know, they weren't near deaths or anything, but I thought I was drowning because I was a little kid. So
Yeah.
haven't quite gotten over that hump yet. I do want to eventually start surfing because I got a lot of friends who are super into it. But I guess just hiking and camping, those are the two that I love the most. And just like traveling in general, because I love seeing new places. Like that's just a big passion of mine. So I'd say those for
Awesome.
sure.
Yeah, it's never too late to get into surfing. I think I am very into surfing, but I feel you when I was little. I had a few kind of hectic. Uh, my dad would take me out when it was just way too intense for me, and I'd get tumbled around and sort of freaked out. But anyway, that's very cool. So hike. So your jam is more like hiking, backpacking, and stuff like that. But it does sound like both your parents and your dad in particular was hugely influential around your relationship with nature. Um, that's very cool. So this is a kind of a broad question, but I'd love to get a little bit more of a sense of what Brad, your dad, was like. Can you just share a little bit more about who he was?
Yeah, it's a tough question because he was such like a singular person, you know. But basically, in our family, he was just the leader of everything. Like he would drag us out to go outside, go camping early in the morning. You know, knock on my door. I can't remember how many times, just wake me up in the middle of the night, or it'd be 6 a.m. But that was early for me.
Yeah.
Cars leaving in 10 minutes. Like better be there. So I can't remember how many times that happened, but so many. And I'd be grouchy at first. We all kind of would, but within 20 minutes, we'd be having the time of our lives. He was really, really funny too, which when I was thinking about this, I forgot to mention that, but he was one of the funniest people I ever knew. Like he just knew how to get laughs out of people, and like it's hard to stay angry or upset when he was around. So he brought a lot of like levity and lightheartedness to any situation. And this is something that it took me a while to fully appreciate because when you're a kid and your dad does stuff, you can get embarrassed pretty easily. But he would talk to anyone and everyone. You just make
Mm.
friends with whoever's on the trail. Just crack jokes with them, try to be their friends. And like as a kid, I was like, you need to stop. Like you're embarrassing me. But looking back, that's like one of the best things about him. And he was just really good at just connecting with people and giving them making them feel important and included. And
Mm.
that's one thing that, ever since I was in high school or whatever, and I had friend groups, I tried to make sure everyone was like all together, having a good time. And that's definitely something I got from him. So, and I guess the main thing is like kind of going with the making friends with people. Like, I don't think I can recall him ever being embarrassed ever. Like he was so
Mm.
confident and comfortable in his own skin. Like, he was never rattled, and he always just seemed he had this natural charisma, and it was great to be around him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. I mean, thank you for sharing that, and that's helpful to hear because while we've had a lot of conversations, and I've had conversations with your family, I never met your dad, and it's great to hear these stories. But it sounds like he was such a character and such a positive role model, and right with whether it's nature or I love that I hadn't heard his uh, just saying hi to everyone, talking to everyone, the
Mhm.
inclusivity. That's really, really neat. I want to hear, I'd like to hear, do you have any, like, what are some of your favorite memories of your dad? And anything sort of nature related is bonus points, but I'd love to hear, a few of your favorite memories.
I got a few that came off the top of my head immediately. So when I was in high school, I was going into my junior year. It was like the summer. We went on a big. Oh, actually, I'm completely incorrect on that. It was eighth grade.
Okay.
And, we went to Costa Rica, and there was like one of the days when my dad was like, "Hey, we're gonna go climb this like mountain and swim in this volcano crater." And I was like, "Oh, that'd be great." And he picked the one day where it was like a rainstorm, so it was completely pouring, and that was just me and him and like I think a friend of mine and his dad, so it was more like intimate, I guess. And there's mud up to our knees. Like this is a total total rough hike. We were just covered in mud by the time we got to the top, and then on top of that the water was freezing. But it was honestly one of the best days of my life. It was so much fun. That was great. And then that same trip, goes back to the surfing thing, but we had surf lessons scheduled, but it was another rainy day. So we just ended up playing soccer on the beach in the pouring rain, with like some locals, and that was awesome because he brought them in. He's like, "Come on, guys, you gotta play all that stuff." So that was a lot of fun. And then so even when I was coming up here to look at colleges, this
And
was
you're up in San Luis Obispo,
yeah,
right? Which is,
so
several hours, is that Central California? Is that what
yeah, we call it
few hours from San Diego?
technically NorCal a little bit, but it's central because you get
Got
people
it.
both. But yeah, like this kind of attests to, like, who he was really, because I was literally there when he got the phone call where he got like the transformation that turned fatal, because he had CLL since like 2013, but it was kind of a manageable illness that you can live
And
with.
what's CLL?
Oh, it's the chronic leukemia. It's like the lymphoma.
Okay, got it.
It's not as severe as what actually mutated into, but actually, like, I was there when he got the call from the doctor, and he's like, so he hears this bad news, and he like tells me, I didn't really know what to think. But then the next day, dragging me out to go climb like all the peaks, and I'm sure he was in pain and stuff, but he didn't want to be a burden. He didn't want any of that. He just wanted us to have a great time. So coming up here for the first time really sold me on going to school here, because I actually had my heart set on going to school in Washington, some other school.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I think the experiences I had with my dad up here really just tipped the scale. So that was also a good one. And I won't say too many more, but I'll list off a few that I just feel like I have to get in there.
Yeah, those are
Escondido,
awesome. So
it's called Lake Dixon, and that was where I had a lot of my birthday parties growing up, where we'd camp and do all this stuff. But one year particularly, we had like probably 10 people, or my dad and like 9 boys my age. I was in like 4th grade, and we rented like rowboats, and he was on the other boat, and he just started just smacking the water with the oar, just soaking us, and we had a full-on like water fight in the middle of the river, or in the middle of the lake, and I was so mad at the time because I was soaked, but it was great. And then yeah, and then I can go on and on, but you kind of get the picture, like.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's a good, maybe the other ones will come up, but I think that gives me and everyone a good sense of who he was. And it sounds like really someone who like lived each day to the max. And
Yeah.
I like a lot of there's a theme there too with it seems like a lot of these stories, or some of them, start out kind of like challenging, right? Like this Costa Rica hike in particular, it's like muddy, it's raining, but you end up having this unforgettable experience with a soccer game in the rain. It's maybe not what you totally expected, but he made the most of it, or you all made the most of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we mentioned this in 2018, your dad passed away, and it was really kind of quite unexpected, right? I'm just curious if you'd be open to sharing a little bit more about how your dad's passing has impacted you and your family.
Yeah, I mean, of course. So, I mean, my dad was always it's hard to describe, but you always think your parents are invincible, just growing up, like they're all you know. And then, so even when he got this, the transformation thing, where it mutated, I read about it, and it said, oh, like life expectancy, like 7 to 8 months or something. And I was like, oh, no way. Like, it didn't seem real.
Yeah.
Like, looking back, it was exactly then when he passed away. So it was kind of crazy. So it was just kind of a shock. Like, for a while, we just didn't really know what to do. Like, yeah, it was really hard, and it was tough seeing like that. He went through a bunch of like procedures, he lost all his hair. He did all that to try to make it go away. So when he actually passed away, I actually had the news a few days before that he was probably not going to make it, but it still didn't feel real. And then I got the call, and it just, reality hit, and you're just like, wow, like, your parents aren't invincible. Like, it's crazy. So I think I can speak for my whole family, and we were just at a loss. Like, we just didn't really know what to do. And I think what helped us kind of get through it was the fact that all of our family and friends loved him as much as we did. So we were able to support each other, even though it made no sense. But what was like the main question again? Sorry, just to...
No, it's just how his death kind of impacted you. I think you're right on topic. And
okay. Sure.
Yeah, and were you in where were you in school at school at the
I
time?
was at school, so I went back and saw him. I think a week before, because my mom's like, hey, like you should make sure you see dad. You know, we don't know how it's gonna go. And even when I saw him, he was not looking good. He was very loopy, like all that stuff. But
Yeah,
I still thought he'd pull through somehow because he's my dad. Of course he would. So I think the main thing was like the shock, and then
right.
when we got over the shock, then it was just like we're in a hole. We don't know what to do now. And I think what honestly picked us back up, and I'm being serious, it was like starting to get outside again. Starting to just do things he would have loved to do. Like I remember, I think the week where he passed away, it was like 2 days later, and I couldn't sleep. It was like 2 in the morning, so I just left my dorm and just hiked the top of a mountain, and I felt better already. It was just stuff
Hmm.
like that. Like it was really hard to comprehend, but just doing those things slowly started getting me back on my feet. And then I guess that kind of leads into the origin of 2B-RAD, because my mom had the idea to do something in his name, like before anyone else did. Like I literally think it was like a week or two after, she's like, we got to do something for him. Like I'm gonna do
Yeah,
a profit, because I mean, another quick tidbit about my dad was he was used to be like a youth counselor. Used to like take youth groups out, to like Yosemite and all these places. And he also did mountain rescue for like 15 years. So he was big on giving back, and especially in relation to like nature, stuff like that. So,
right. And that's San Diego Mountain Rescue, and that's I think
yeah,
for people that don't know, that's a volunteer thing, and they
volunteer thing. Yeah.
volunteer thing, and you rescue people that get stuck in the mountains or wherever.
Yeah. So he was like really skilled in mountaineering. Like,
Yeah.
he, when my mom met him, he actually ended up, he like met her, and then he went backpacking by himself in Alaska for like a month, and then she'd
Wow.
hear from him. So, that's just how he was. Like he used it to recharge. So
Yeah.
I guess getting back on track, 'cause I keep going on tangents, but so 2B-RAD kind of happened organically because my mom was like, we need to do like a nonprofit to honor him, and then right when she said that, everyone was like, I'm like, yeah, absolutely, it makes perfect sense. But that was in 2018, and now it's 2021, and it took this long until we found exactly what we were looking for, which was nature unplugged, and we're like really grateful for that. So
Well,
yeah,
thank you. Yeah, I mean, and the feeling's mutual, 100%. I want to jump into like a little bit more. I want to hear a little bit more about 2B-RAD, but I think we'll also talk about that. I want to share that, our mission and everything, and I think what we stand for is so in line with who Brad was, and I mean, you're sort of preaching to the choir, I think, or when you share the story about, you leaving your dorm room at 2 in the morning and going and hiking, that was how I lost my dad when I was very young. I was 6 years old, but as soon as I got old enough to kind of know what was going on, uh, even probably before I completely knew what was happening or how sad I was, I would, if I could get to the beach, I felt better, and I felt like all my memories of my dad were at the beach and in the water.
right.
Uh, he would spread his ashes in the ocean, and that's ever since I was 6. That's been my place to recharge and to reconnect with my dad. So I very much, I know it can sound sort of strange, but I very much know what you're talking about. So
No, it makes perfect sense. Yeah, it's great to have like one thing to kind of recharge, and I appreciate it so much. So
totally, yeah, yeah. Uh, so so you're saying that your mom knew right away, or within a couple of weeks, it sounds like, that you wanted to do something, and so now we have, this is fast forward several years, and 2B-RAD is officially a nonprofit, and I'd love to hear just a little bit more uh, about 2B-RAD, and like, can you share the mission and that kind of stuff?
yeah, of course. So like you said, our mission statements align a lot, because ours is just using nature to heal life's hardships. And it's kind of vague, but working with Nature Unplugged kind of makes it more practical and spelled out, because you guys offer some great programs. So if we're able to raise this money in order to help people in need to like experience nature and like counseling and stuff through you guys, like that's exactly what my dad would have wanted. So um, we're just really excited for this month long hike-a-thon. We we always do things in October, especially because that's when he passed away. So it's just really cool to bring a bunch more people on board for a great cause. So very excited about that. We have goals, but they're not like they're pretty vague. Like as of now, I think we just wanted to get this, get the nonprofit like off the ground. We did that. Now we're having people reaching out. We're getting donors and all that stuff. So I don't personally have any tangible goals except for making this happen, and we're doing that. And I'm really excited. So I
Yeah.
just think it's such in line with my dad's ideology. Where I'm just really happy with how it's turning out, and I'm excited for October to come because it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And I think I mentioned this at the beginning of the podcast, but we haven't talked about this in any of our previous podcasts. And so, as we have both talked about, we're teaming up. So Nature Unplugged and 2B-RAD for really a month of hiking. Basically, it's a hike-a-thon, so that the goal is really to raise money to provide scholarships for families in need, whether that's a financial hardship or emotional hardship, to experience some great outdoor programming and a variety of awesome programs. So I'll share a little bit more about the details on that when we can keep it going. But in the show notes, I'll have the link to the event page and all that. There's a lot of great information on there. But basically, it's over the course of the month of October, we're going to be doing a bunch of hikes. There's going to be in-person hikes in San Diego. So we have a variety of locations. I think we're hiking almost every weekend day in October. We're doing 8 hikes. And so that's, if you're in the San Diego area, you can San Diego County area, you can join us. We have, a lot of awesome hikes. It's going to be in-person events. And then also the cool news is, Zach, you're up in San Luis Obispo, and listeners everywhere else, you can still get involved because we've partnered with a company called All Trails, which is if you're not familiar with All Trails, it's a tech company, but it's a tech company with the mission of getting people outside. They have a wonderful little app that can be a navigation app, and it's also a way to explore new hikes and stuff where you are. So Zach, for example, you can go out and hike and log your miles, or you can use All Trails to track your miles or discover new hikes out in the, in sort of the Central Coast area. So you can hike wherever you are. And so you can to get involved, you can join as a hiker, or you can be a donor. So you can sponsor Zach or myself, or, other Humphrey family members. There's a bunch of hikers already signed up. Or there's also an opportunity to make a team. And so you can sponsor a team. It's a really, really cool thing. Anyway, I'll include more info on the show notes, but I want to circle back to you, Zach, and see, what are you most excited for with this hike-a-thon?
So you touched on it a little bit, but as you know, I'm in the Central Coast, so I can't exactly get down to San Diego every weekend. I really like how it's inclusive for wherever you are, because you can just sign up as a hiker, log miles, contribute that way. I know I'm gonna have a group of friends going out every weekend to hike up here. So I like that I can still be involved even though I can't, be there for the in-person hikes. And I was like, I invite anyone in the Central Coast, send me an email. I'd love to get some hikes together. But I'm just really excited by it's very inclusive, which my dad was all about. He wanted as many people to get involved with the outdoors as possible. So I just think it's very versatile, and I really enjoy how we've set it up.
Yeah, I'm psyched. I'm excited for October. It's going to be a lot of walking, a lot of hiking, but I'm excited. And actually, I don't know if you saw this, Zach, but the in-person hikes that we're doing in San Diego, we've kind of curated, handpicked a variety of hikes. A lot of them with the intention was to choose places that were really special to Brad. And I think we've done that. And I think there's going to be a Lake Dixon one. We're doing like Annie's Canyon, a variety of ones in the North County coastal area. We're also doing one, actually, I haven't done this hike before, but it's considered I don't know how legit this is, but everyone says this is the hardest hike in San Diego County. Oh. It's called El Cajon Mountain. And it's, I think it's pretty intense, but we're going to do that one. I think it's on October 30th, right before Halloween. So if you're psyched, if you're excited, Zach, to come down for for one hike, that could be a good one. I think I don't think Brad only did crazy stuff, but it's from what I know,
Yeah.
he liked a good challenge. And so it's like maybe, I got to look at the details. It's maybe like 17 miles, a crazy amount of elevation gain and loss. Maybe it's not 7, maybe it's like 12, but it's.
So, yeah, maybe he did it. I have no idea, but I'll keep that in mind because that does sound like a lot of fun.
I'm excited. I got to get. Yeah. So more on that. We'll include, again, as I mentioned, more info in the show notes, including link to the event. Yeah, the whole month of October. So gearing up. I wanted to touch base on something that I have heard about and I love, and I wanted to see what does. This is a family thing that you guys. It's kind of an inside thing, but I want to kind of share it with the world. What does WWBD stand for? What does that mean to you?
So this was kind of came from the mind of my uncle John, because my uncle and I actually have a lot of similarities. Like our personalities are more reserved compared to my dad was very, outgoing immediately, getting people involved, all that stuff. But so WWBD, or what would Brad do? Just kind of a reminder if we're like apprehensive about something, or if like there's an opportunity to do something, but we're not really sure about it. Just kind of what would he do? Just it's the extra push to have a new experience. So I use it all the time. If I'm scared at something, I'll just think of that, and it helps me. It's like it's pretty calming, and I know John does it all the time too. So it's just a nice little reminder, and it gives you the extra push to make a new memory, I guess. So
yeah, I love it. I mean, ever since I heard it, it's been on my mind, and so I wanted you to share more about it. I think it's great. I mean, it sounds like he was often the person to, like you said, like waking you up at 6 a.m, or like pushing you to go a little farther. And this is a way, I think, for his spirit and to push us all out of our comfort zones and to make more memories and have more of those awesome experiences. So I really love that. What would Brad do? It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, man. Well, kind of getting to the end of the program here. We talked about this a little bit, but one thing we love to do is give folks, listeners, kind of a tangible takeaway from the podcast. And I know the dynamic of this podcast is a little bit different, and I think there already are some tangible takeaways, but I wanted to see if you had anything you wanted to share, kind of a challenge for the listeners from this show.
Well, I guess so. The most basic challenge is, I'd love for everybody to sign up and join the Hike-A-Thon. That would be awesome. Become a hiker, donate, just do anything to help. But if you're not comfortable doing that or anything, I just think it would be great if you would hike, one day a weekend, just kind of reset your mind. It's helped my mental health immensely, and I think it could help a lot of people. So I'd say those are my main takeaways. If you can get involved, get involved. If not, just get outside. So
I love it. And no excuses not to get involved. Let's be real. You can do it from anywhere, but yeah, get it. Yeah. So it's get involved. And I think I love that. It sounds like that was a great thing that you all did as a family. It's like one weekend day to go out and just do some new hike and explore. So I love it. Well, Zac, thank you so much for being on the program. It was a pleasure to have you. I know, again, it's not an easy subject, but it's really an honor to speak with you, and I think for our listeners to hear more about this wonderful nonprofit. And again, this just started this year, so lots more wonderful things to come, but I really appreciate you being on.
I had a lot of fun talking about this, and thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to October. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's the ENU Challenge, Hike to be Rad. All right. Well, thanks so much for tuning into the Nature Unplugged podcast. You can find all of our episodes on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, basically wherever you want to get your podcast, you can find it. We'd love it if you could take a moment to rate and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts. That helps us a ton. And be sure and visit www.natureunplugged.com for more information and resources. You can also find our detailed show notes there. Just click free resources, then podcast. One thing, Zac, you're still with us, right? One thing I forgot to ask, this will be in the show notes, but where can people find out more about 2B-RAD? What's the website?
Yeah, so you can go to 2B-RAD.org. That's 2B-RAD.org. and I'm sure there'll be the actual link in the show notes. But please visit, please donate. We'd appreciate it. It would be a lot of fun.
Awesome. Zac, thank you so much. And thank you all for listening, and we will catch you next time.
Thank you.
Things change like seasons out of our control. If you think you should go, I will let you go.